This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome into Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Tuesday night, right on into your Wednesday morning for our friends over on the East Coast especially. What a Tuesday it was. 4 playoff games on the ice, 4 in the NBA, a loaded MLB slate. There were supposed to be 15 games. Believe we ended up with 14. A rain out in Cincinnati. Still had a 5-0 day on the diamond. How about that? Lost both of our plays, Clippers minus 1.5, and the Kawhi points rebounds over, which he actually got within 4 points and rebounds of, but just couldn't get home. A lackluster performance all around from the Clippers. We'll get to that momentarily. We're going to hear from some great guests this hour. Our buddy Nick Whalen, the co-host of Prop Points right here on the network. Scott Spreitzer from Doc Sports going to join us as well. Give out some Wednesday winners that you don't want to miss. But the NBA playoffs did not disappoint on Tuesday. And it started with a bang. The best games were the early games. Milwaukee, Indiana, Detroit, and my Knicks. Let's start right there in Indianapolis as the Pacers send the Bucks home in 5. And was this the final game for Giannis Antetokounmpo as a Milwaukee Buck? I mean, if so, what a way to go out. Not ideal for the Greek Freak. And it seems like Milwaukee put so much into making him happy and giving him a fellow superstar and Dame and trying to turn one championship into a dynastic run, only for the last 2-3 seasons to be absolute dumpster fires at the end. I mean, back-to-back years of getting bounced in the first round. I'm not saying 48-34 is a dumpster fire of a regular season, but back-to-back first-round exits is inexcusable for a guy like Giannis. I mean, my goodness, he's not getting old, but he's not getting any younger. And he's leaving it all out on the court every damn night. I mean, 30 points, 20 boards, 13 assists, 4 steals and blocks, phenomenal defense, 44 minutes. And they blow a 7-point lead in the final minute of OT. How about Gary Trent Jr.? Game 3 hero in that win at home in Milwaukee. 33 points. He was the leading scorer for the entire game, not just for the Bucks, for the game in this Game 5 elimination loss. 33 points, 5 steals, and 5 boards for Gary Trent Jr. And all anyone is going to remember is that he coughed it up twice. An errant pass, and then that dropping the ball out of bounds turnover at the end. 2 turnovers in the final 40 seconds. And he doesn't get remembered for 33 points and forcing a Game 6 and taking it back to Milwaukee to fight off elimination. No, Gary Trent Jr.'s performance is going to get remembered as the guy who blew it for the Bucks down the stretch. Indiana, 8 unanswered in the final 40 seconds or so. And they win it 119-118. Tyrese Halliburton, a big bucket, getting to the rim. Late was just 2 of 10 from 3, but finished with a team high 26, 9 dimes, 5 boards. How about 6 combined steals and blocks, 3 apiece for Halliburton. Played an all-around terrific game, even on a night where he didn't shoot great from deep. Every Pacers starter in double figures, plus McConnell, 18 off the bench as Indiana, wow, coming back from a 30-13 first quarter deficit. Scoring a buck, 106 in the final 3 quarters plus overtime. Milwaukee, for them, they peaked in the first quarter. The best quarter they had after that was 28-28 in the fourth. Indiana, proving my point that the NBA really starts in the fourth quarter. I mean, my goodness, down 17 in the first, able to climb their way back. The Bucks shake up the entire starting 5, bench Prince, Kuzma, and Lopez. Don't just bench those guys, but the 3 combined for 25 minutes. Kuzma's 13 minutes, more than anyone off the bench. So Portis, Trent, Porter Jr., A.J. Green, rounding out the starting five alongside Giannis. Completely new look in an elimination game, and it almost worked. They were up 118-111 with a minute to go in overtime, but the Indiana Pacers prevail, 119-118, and they'll take on Cleveland in the next round. My Knicks didn't have such fortune in a Game 5 on their home court, where they were 27-14, winners of nearly 2 out of 3 in the regular season at home. The Knicks have lost 2 out of 3 at home this series to the Detroit Pistons. And I'm sorry, but that is absolutely inexcusable. You know, every game this series has been a nail-biter, right? The Knicks game 1, win it by 11. It's the most lopsided game of the series. They were down going into the fourth quarter. They rode that 21-0 run to the double-digit win. Then the Pistons by 6, Knicks by 2, Knicks by 1, Pistons by 3. Every game has been a dogfight. Even that 11-point game was an absolute dogfight until the Knicks went on that late run. You can argue Detroit actually outplayed the Knicks for the majority of game 1. They've outplayed the Knicks for the majority of minutes in the 3 games at Madison Square Garden. And I'm sorry. I respect this Detroit team. I like this Detroit team. I said over 5.5 total games. And lo and behold, we're headed back to Motown for a game 6. But the Knicks are too damn talented to be this undisciplined and to be going back to Detroit for a game 6. This would be understandable that there'd be a game 6 if it was 2-2 after 4, frankly. But you're up 3-1. You steal, and I mean steal, both games in Detroit. Come home up 3-1 and you can't finish. That is inexcusable. It was like no one wanted to take over. You know, Towns and Brunson wanted to take over game 4 in Detroit. No one wanted to take over game 5 at MSG. No Nick had 20 points. OG Anunoby, leading scorer with 19. And we all know why Anunoby showed up. Anne Hathaway was in attendance. There is a direct correlation between Anunoby having great games and Anne Hathaway being at Madison Square Garden. But he has 19, Bridges with 17, Towns 17 and 11 boards, Brunson 16 and 7 dimes, Hart 15, 7 boards, 6 assists. So every Knicks starter had at least 15, but no one had 20. No one took over the game. When they entered the fourth quarter down 3, no one said, all right, enough's enough. I'm making sure we pull away. On their home court, inexcusable to be 1-2 at Madison Square Garden. And I'll tell you what, Detroit's opening up 2-point favorites in game 6. That's right where they should be. Because the Knicks won those 2 games by a combined 3 points. In Detroit, I don't think they're going 3-0 in Motown. I think the Pistons are sending this to a 7th game. And even though, you know, the Pistons are a scrappy, physical, good team, and I thought this was going over 5.5, the Knicks should be ashamed for not closing it out when they had an opportunity to, up 3-1 at MSG. Now, I think it's going 7, and the Pistons are playing with house money. They've got nothing to lose. The Knicks look tight. They look like the team that was not living up to expectations. 9 of 25 from beyond the arc, and the Pistons were worse from deep. They were 8 for 29, but they got to the line 36 times. How about the Knicks going just 16 of 27 at the free throw line, 59%? That is terrible. You lose a game at home by 3, and you miss 11 free throws? That is inexcusable. Let's look ahead to Wednesday on the hardwood. Couple of Western Conference game 5s. Both home teams looking to survive and fight off elimination. Golden State, Houston, the Rockets laying 4 in this one. I'll tell you what. I think Golden State, you can get them plus $1.60 on the money line. I don't know if I'd call that the best bet because maybe this is one where the Rockets get back in the win column after 2 really close games in the Bay Area, and then Golden State closes them out in 6. But I'm betting the Warriors. Now, the reason I say I'm betting them and I wouldn't call it a best bet, this is where my hedge finally begins. I thought we'd get out of the first round. It's apparent we're not going to. So I have my Rockets 27-1 ticket in pocket, and now I've got a hedge here. So I'll be taking the Warriors plus 160. And if they lose, I'll be taking them again game 6. And my hedge on the Rockets, that 27-1 ticket, has officially begun. Houston had a real shot. I mean, you had to take one in Golden State, right? They led game 3, late game 4, in it the whole time, up 7 at halftime, and then the Warriors open up that 18-1 run to start the second half. That was inexcusable. That was their youth showing, though. And Jalen Green hasn't showed up. I don't know. Maybe Houston steals this one, but I'll be betting the Warriors because it's apparent it's a matter of when Houston's season ends, not if, because it's ending this series. And I'll tell you what, I think the Lakers' season is too. I think the Lakers are more likely to win Game 5 at home, and that's why they're laying a slightly bigger number, 5.5 to 6, depending on the book. Look at this team, 31-10 on their home court this season. They were the second best team at home in the West this regular season. Minnesota, Game 1, set the tone for the entire series. Then both games in Minnesota are nail-biters. Both games feature second-half Laker leads. And the fourth quarter, this team's depth, or lack thereof, just completely got exploited. They scored 20 and 19 points in the 2 fourth quarters at Minnesota. Couple days off between games here. I think the Lakers take Game 5. I don't know if I'd be willing to lay the 5.5 or 6, though. I just don't trust this team down the stretch. I don't trust them to close out. I think Minnesota is going to win this one in 6. We're looking at a 6-7 seed second round, right? Wolves, Warriors. The Wolves going to have home court over Golden State. And then Oklahoma City. Looks like they might draw Denver unless the Clippers win 2 in a row here. The Western Conference, whether it's the NBA or the Stanley Cup playoffs, these Western Conference playoffs have been absolutely sensational. I'm going to talk more about the NBA playoffs, little NFL draft prop action up next. Nick Whalen from Prop Points joins us on Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Tuesday night, right on in to your Wednesday morning. Nick Whalen, the co-host of Prop Points on the network, as well as your senior editor and analyst over at RotoWire, with us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Nick, got a lot of NBA on Wednesday to get to here. 2 big Western Conference matchups, the Rockets and Lakers, 2 home teams that are going to be trying to save their season and stay alive. Going to get to some NFL draft props. We spend so much time talking football every Sunday night here on this show during the season. Now we get an excuse to talk a little more football. But before we get into the draft props, I got to ask you your thoughts on something that happened over the weekend. Your thoughts on that CBS interview with Bill Belichick and what that could potentially mean for a North Carolina team that I was quick to say over 6.5 wins when that hire was made, and now the number I believe is up to 7.5. And I'm looking at Bill, and I want to say blink twice if you need help, Bill. And I'm a little worried about the state of that team and if Bill is focused or not.
Very concerning interview, very strange interview. I think if somebody even 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, had told you hey, Bill Belichick is going to give this interview, here's what's going to happen in that interview, you would say that's like the last guy in the sports universe that I think would be embroiled in a situation like this, right? It's a total 180 from everything that we've come to know about Bill Belichick. And look, is it going to impact the product on the field? Not necessarily. If anything, it's just raising his notoriety, right? I mean, if I was 17 years old, I'd probably think it was really cool that my coach was dating a 25-year-old. So I don't think it necessarily impacts how I look at North Carolina, but it was bizarre in every way. I don't know how you could look at that and come away and think that's just a very normal situation, a super normal relationship, one that I would love to be involved in.
Yeah, but if you were 17 years old, you might also think that the Paul brothers were cool. So obviously, the judgment of 17-year-olds isn't running the world here. I'm concerned, man. That win total, 7.5. And, like I said, it came out 6.5, and I was screaming over. And now I'm thinking under 7.5 at -110. It might be the way I lean. I'm just really concerned seeing her on the practice field. Yeah. And, I know I ran up the Instagram poll that you partook in because there's a lot of questions as to how those two might have met. I don't want to speculate. All I'll say is that reaching for the same sweet treat at Trader Joe's was not the winner in that poll, surprisingly. I could have sworn they met reaching for some chocolate-covered almonds at Trader Joe's, but that was not the winner of the poll. People had some other thoughts regarding Belichick and how he met his 24-year. I mean, she's younger than me. That's crazy. Let's stay football. Let's stay with Travis Hunter here. number 2 overall pick in this draft class. And what are your thoughts on some of these Travis Hunter props that have been released? You know, you look at his receiving yards, 700 plus, 800 plus. Is he going to play enough on offense to accrue that many receiving yards?
Yeah, so we have receiving yards, we have receiving touchdowns, and we have interceptions props all up for Travis Hunter right now at DraftKings. And look, in general, and really this is the case with any season-long prop, especially when you're looking at it this time of year, injury tends to be the biggest concern. I mean, the books make a lot of money with people just taking overs on this because you look at a number for someone like Travis Hunter, everybody's excited about him. You're looking at Saquon's rushing yards number, and you're like, oh, he's going to do it again. And you forget just how many games, the average NFL player tends to miss year over year. And, Travis Hunter is only 6 foot 185, right? So I think there is some real durability concern here. You compare that to someone like Brian Thomas with the Jags, who came in at 6'3", 210. And, if he's pushing close to 100 snaps, like the Jaguars claim he will, I really do think durability is something you have to factor in. He's had injuries at the college level, both at Colorado and Jackson State. Maybe this is just me, Joe, as a Jaguars fan, like preparing myself for what will likely be the worst case scenario with this franchise. In terms of the receiving yards, I don't know that I would go above 700. You can get that at minus 120 right now. Not quite enough value for me to go 800 plus at plus 125. Wouldn't really dabble with the 900 plus. You got to keep in mind, they still have a very clear number 1 receiver on this team in Brian Thomas Jr. They brought in De'Ami Brown. We'll see what kind of role Gabe Davis fills for this team, but 700 to me feels like a pretty safe floor. I do think if you read between the lines on James Gladstone, their GM's comments, they're going to play him on offense first. I think playing him at receiver is the goal. And then, the term that he's used is we'll have packages for him on defense. And look, if it goes well, maybe he plays more snaps defensively, but I think he will be more of a receiver first, at least to start the year. So that is one that I would look at. As far as the touchdowns go, I think I might actually like this one more than the yards, only because I think the Jags are going to make a point to feed him the ball in red zone situations, in scoring situations, right? You need to sell this pick. You need to sell it to ownership. You need to sell it to fans. You gave up a ton to move up and get Travis Hunter. And I think in order to sell this pick, touchdowns are going to accomplish that more than yards. So 5+ touchdowns at minus 155. I don't think that's a terrible price. Starts to get interesting at 7+ plus 225. Since 2015, only 3 Jaguars receivers, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, and Brian Thomas, have gotten to 7 touchdowns. Also did a little more digging on this since 2005. So we're talking 20 years. 39 rookie receivers have put up at least 7 touchdowns. So about 2 per year. Not all that crazy. Could certainly see Travis Hunter joining that group. But the interceptions prop to me is also very appealing.
Yeah, the interceptions prop is actually what I think is the best value surrounding anything Hunter related.
Yeah.
2+ at plus money. I mean, look, I think this is a guy who's going to probably play 70% of his snaps on the defensive side of the ball. And to your point, and it was a great point, they're going to have to show their fan base that he was worth all that they gave up. And I think that he'll be used 3rd down, 4th down, and, goal to go situations. But I don't think he's going to be out there lining up 1st and 10, 2nd and 7 as a receiver all that often. I think he's going to be used in, you need a 1st down, you need a touchdown. But I think he's going to get way more snaps on defense. So I love that 2+ INTs.
I don't know. I think as of right now, again, I get the vibe that they want to play him more on offense. We'll see. A lot's going to change between now and week 1. But again, I'm gleaning that essentially from the intro press conference with Gladstone. But again, like you said, 2+ picks at plus 125 is pretty intriguing. I don't think I'd go above that. For one, interceptions in general, Joe, were just way down last season. There were 387 total interceptions last year. That was the fewest in any season since 1969. You go back a little over a decade and we're talking, 100+ fewer picks than we saw league wide in, say, 2013, when there were over 500 interceptions thrown. Obviously, we have an extra week's worth of games as well, which makes it even more extreme. So the league-wide interception rates have been on the decline for a while. You look at the numbers last year, 87 players had at least 2 interceptions. Not a single one of those players played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They ended the season with an NFL low 9 takeaways, just 6 interceptions as a team. So I think it's going to be a point of emphasis. Turnovers tend to be fluky year over year, especially when you have a new defensive coordinator, you have an entirely new defensive staff. I think they'll be depending on Travis Hunter in a lot of ways to help generate those turnovers. That's kind of the player that he was at Colorado. So again, I'm not sure I'd go above the 2 interceptions. Keep in mind, Jalen Ramsey at his rookie year, he came in ready. He was amazing right away. He was runner-up for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He only had 2 interceptions as a rookie, and he was a full-time starting cornerback. He was playing over 60 snaps per game. So, as much potential as Travis Hunter has, I would be surprised if he's a Ramsey caliber quarterback or cornerback, I should say, right away.
Yeah, I wouldn't climb that ladder, but I do like 2+ at plus money. Hey, how about Wednesday NBA playoffs? Golden State, Houston, Minnesota, Lakers. What's your favorite bet among those two games?
Yeah, I'm looking at a few props for these games. In that Rockets Warriors game, Amen Thompson over 6.5 boards is one that I like. He's had some foul trouble throughout this series, and that's really what worries me. But if he's not in foul trouble, they absolutely need him out there defensively. He attacks the boards at a really high rate. So I like the over 6.5 there. Would look at Jimmy Butler over 5.5 assists. I lean Warriors to win this game. I know they are 4-point underdogs, but I've just lost so much faith in this Houston team offensively. They finally got the Fred VanVleet game that they needed. Alperen Sengun was really good the other night, and Jalen Green just completely no-showed for the third time in this series. Maybe that comes back around at home, but Golden State, feels like they've gotten away with a couple of games that they should not have necessarily won, and that experience factor is really pulling through. As down as I am on this Lakers team right now, Joe, I do think they win and keep this series alive tomorrow night. They are 5.5-point favorites at home. We've seen LeBron in these situations so many times. Even Luka's played in a lot of these big games. I would look at LeBron's rebounding prop. Always tends to hit the glass in these do or die situations. He's had 3 straight double-digit rebounding games. You can get the over 9.5 right now at around -120. LeBron has a way when he needs to win to get to the line, much like he did in Game 4, to slow this game down. I think the Timberwolves probably come back around it in terms of shooting. I still think Minnesota wins this series. I still think Minnesota has a really good chance to beat the Warriors in round 2, but I think the Lakers do stay alive for at least one more game.
Crazy. We could get a 6 seed against the 7 seed in round 2, but that's how bunched up those Western Conference standings were. We have to keep reminding ourselves this may be a 3-6 Lakers-Wolves, but there was one game separating these two in the standings. Nick, as always, man, great stuff. Really appreciate the time. Really appreciate you hopping on. Thanks so much.
Hey, anytime, man. We'll talk soon.
Make sure you check out Prop Points with Nick, weekdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN, and of course his terrific work over at RotoWire as well. Folks, the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs are heating up, baseball's in full swing, and the Kentucky Derby is just days away. So don't just watch, bet smarter with VSiN Pro. Right now, you get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st, just $59, everything we do, saving you well over a third of the monthly price. Sign up now, and that instant access includes a daily recap of best bets from all of our hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video, and full show replays on the VSiN Watch app, plus our Kentucky Derby betting guide that drops in just a few hours. It'll have best bets on the Derby and the Kentucky Oaks. Every sport, every edge, one great price. VSiN.com/subscribe. More picks, more winners, more cashing out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Cashing out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, Cashing Out continues here with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Tuesday night, right on into your Wednesday morning here on the program. And now we're taking you over to the Progressive guest line as we welcome in our friend from DocSports.com, Scott Spreitzer. Follow him on Twitter at ScottWins. Joining the show. Scott, how are you, my friend? How are you enjoying that win by your Vegas Golden Knights in overtime?
I'm doing well, but we needed the VGK 60-minute line or in regulation for a 4-0 sweep tonight. They didn't get there, but I'm still a fan. So we were rooting for them to get the win in OT, and they were able to get it done. And obviously, when Marc-Andre Fleury was brought into the game in the third period, you kind of thought that there was a little bit of an advantage there for Vegas. He just isn't what he used to be, and he only faced 3 shots on goal after he came in until they went into overtime. And then it was, man, just throw some shots on goal, take some rebounds, and you might be able to get one past him, and they eventually did. So they're up 3-2. It's been nip and tuck. It's been crazy, man, because, the reason they had them in regulation, they have dominated the metrics, the key metrics I care about, chances, shots on goal, all that stuff. But they're only up 3-2 after the overtime win. But we'll see how it goes when they take on Minnesota for Game 6.
At least from a fan perspective, it's better, if the bet's going to lose either way, right? It's better to get the overtime win than the regulation loss when that goal by Minnesota ended up getting waved off with 75 seconds to go. That was a crazy emotional trip. 3 games on the ice Wednesday. Any that stand out to you from a best bet perspective yet? Montreal, Washington, Florida, Tampa, St. Louis, Winnipeg. Any early thoughts, Scott?
Yeah, the Jets laying about $1.70, but I'm a little bit concerned right now. I haven't made a bet in Wednesday's NHL yet. The reason I'm so concerned is, what's going on with Hellebuck again. I mean, get to the postseason and things kind of fall apart. And we're talking about the best goaltender in the world throughout the course of the regular season. And then he's just getting beat and he's looking a little bit slow. Like he's just a split second behind where the shots are coming from. And so he's got to shore that up. But if I do anything on Wednesday, it's going to be backing the Jets. I might even look for that in a 60-minute line, instead of laying $1.70-ish or whatever it happens to be by faceoff. But again, it's caution, a lot of caution flags going up with the way he's played in net thus far.
How about over on the NBA side of things? 2 games in the NBA. Yep. Couple of road teams up 3-1, looking to close out. Both underdogs, Golden State, Minnesota. Any early thoughts there? Which road team has the best chance to end it in Game 5 in your estimation?
Yeah, Joe, the first thing I did in that Warriors-Houston game was I played Şengün over 30.5 points and rebounds combined. Yeah. He's really the only Houston Rocket that the Warriors haven't been able to handle when Houston has the rock. I mean, he's topped this total in 3 of their 4 games of this series, 5 of his last 7 overall. And he's taken over 20 shots per game, or right around 20 shots per game, pulling down about almost a dozen rebounds per contest. He handled Draymond, and he's not enough to take basically Houston to that next level to win the series. And I throw that in there, Joe, because what that means to me is that Golden State winning this series the way they are doesn't need to focus on Şengün. Let him go do his work. Just make sure you don't get beat by somebody else. So that makes me like him even more with this prop. And as far as the side in this game, boy, 4 does seem a little steep. I've seen a couple of 4.5s out there. I've seen a couple of 3.5s. Golden State's experience makes it so darn tough. And Draymond gets inside these young guys' heads like we saw the other day. You got the refs swallowing the whistles, which means Draymond could be Draymond even a little bit more. The last 3 games also, Golden State's bench, 37 points per game to 21 for Houston's bench. So kind of a lean there towards the Warriors, but I have bet the over 30.5 points and rebounds for Şengün.
Yeah, I'm with you leaning towards the Warriors side here, but we talked about Şengün and that combo, that points boards combo last week, and he's just been an absolute beast this series when certain guys, Jalen Green to be specific, have really left a lot to be desired in this one. Last week I liked it, Scott. We were in sync on a few things. We liked the Athletics against DeGrom. Good thing we didn't do that on Tuesday night as DeGrom faced him for the second time in a week, got the better of him this time around. But we were on the right side a week ago. Let's go to a game that I think we're on the same side with in Pittsburgh. Cubs, Pirates, Matt Boyd on the bump. What do you like there?
Yeah, Joe, I'm not always crazy about laying a run line. It's hard to make a living laying run lines in Major League Baseball season after season. But when the handicap calls for it, I just got to go for it. And I believe this is one of those times. If you look at what the Cubbies have done, they're 9-5 on the road. They've got a plus 37 run differential. And they're 6-2 on the road against teams not named the Dodgers and the Padres. Did a nice job of splitting 6 with those 2 teams. But Thursday starter Matthew Boyd, when you dig into his numbers, you'll see that he's faced the Dodgers and the Padres 4 times already this season. And I bring him up because those 2 teams are both in the top 10 at home against Southpaws in OPS and in weighted runs created plus. But Wednesday's opponent is Pittsburgh, bottom 6 in those same metrics when it comes to taking on lefties. And then you got, they're hitting .213 on the season so far against these guys, against these Southpaws. Chicago's first and second on the road against righties. And Carmen Majlinski is getting beat up whenever he takes the bump. He's not giving up the long ball. I think he's only given up like 2 dingers in 22 innings, but he's got a .326 batting average against, and he's also allowed 40 base runners in 22 innings. He's averaging less than 5 innings pitched per start, and I like to kind of bring that up because the last 2 starters for the Pirates, which was, of course, Tuesday night and Wednesday night, didn't go 5 full. That bullpen's been busy. One of those instances when I like laying a run and a half here, and it's not a big price, minus $1.05 in that neighborhood.
God, I got to ask you, we got a doubleheader in Cincinnati. Now, yesterday, I just had a 5-0 day on the diamond. I gave out one play that got rained out. It was Reds first 5 money line, minus $1.30. By the time I woke up Tuesday morning, it was minus 164, and then ultimately got postponed. So we won the CLV battle, just didn't have a result. I'm hesitant to go back to it I mean, the price is steeper, so maybe you could look a first 5 run line. But how does your perspective and your approach change when there's a doubleheader? Because now that there's a doubleheader, I'm hesitant to go back to it in this Singer-Michaelis matchup game 1.
I do a lot of that too. I like to go guys who are on their regular rest, and so sometimes I just throw those games out and end up passing if they didn't go the day of the game that I handicapped the game to be played. In this instance, I mean, it's a situation where I couldn't back Michaelis. It would have to be the Reds or nothing. I mean, he actually had a decent start on the road against Atlanta. I think it was April 23rd, his last outing. But I just don't have – there's nothing out of this guy that I see in a consistent manner that makes me want to back him, especially on the road. If you look at what he's done, he'll have like 6 or 7 punch outs one game and then one the next, and go 5 or 6 innings and only get 1 punch out. So he's always got me worried about the fact that, his velocity isn't always where it needs to be. His placement isn't always where it needs to be. So, I kind of lean towards the Reds here. I don't know that I'll be jumping in on a first 5 run line play, but that's the only way I would go in this game where I'd pass altogether.
Yeah, it just scares me. The money line, at least we had the push opportunity. Now it's an early start. Right. Bats could start sluggish first to 2 games. I might, like you said, throw this one out. How about the Dodgers, though? Speaking of teams that really hit a guy well, because the Reds hit Michaelis well, the Dodgers against Cal Quantrill, 38 for 118. It's a 322 clip, a 930 collective OPS. Obviously, you can't take a money line. You're paying too steep of a price. Any alternate markets you could look to here? Dodgers, Marlins, game 3?
I've thought about a couple of times of laying 2.5 runs with the Dodgers this year, Joe, but, they haven't always come through even when laying a run and a half. We've seen, their pitching struggle a little bit. 7-6 win in this series already, a 1-run win. So they're going to score their runs because Quantrill has been a disaster so far this season. He's averaging less than 5 innings pitched per start. He's gone like 23 innings over 19 innings over his last 4 outings. And if you look at what he's done, man, he's striking out very few guys, 11 in his last 19 innings, and he's given up a ton of hits. He's put 32 base runners on the bags. Here's the thing, though. He's been getting a whole lot of run support. I mean, if you look at what this team has done for him, they've got 3-1 in his last 4 starts, and he hasn't really pitched well in any of those except for the Braves game on April 5th. Sounds like I'm picking on the Braves tonight, talking about the way they've gone against like Michaelis, and now we're talking about Quantrill. But again, it's an awfully big price. You would think the Dodgers could come out and, bag about 6 or 7 runs here, but can they keep the opponent from scoring a lot of runs has been the issue.
Team total is 5.5 for the Dodgers. Scott Sprites are with us on the Progressive guest line. If you want more bets from him, make sure you text VSiN wins to 29022. Grab your free $60 trial of Scott's daily best bets. Act now, cash in with Scott. Make your next bet your best bet. Just text VSiN wins, all one word, to 29022 now. Scott, 40 seconds to go. Do you have any Kentucky Derby best bets you want to share?
Yeah, I'll do. I'll make it quick. I do believe that despite the fact he's coming from the outside, the 18th post, which has won like 2 races, Sovereignty, I like to mix him in with Journalism, which of course, listen, about Journalism, I love the way he overcame his issues at Santa Anita and showed grit and toughness, best buyer speed figure in the race. And I'm going to throw in Luxor Cafe, Kentucky bred, raced in Japan, sired by American Pharoah, beat Admire Daytona twice in Japan. I like those 3 as a mix in my trifecta. I'll box them up, play a few matchups when those lines come out too.
Scott, as always, man, sensational stuff. Really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it, Joe. Great night. Have a great night.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at ScottWins. Our friend Scott Sprites are from DocSports.com. Up next, my best bets. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, getting ready to wrap things up here with some best bets for you on a Wednesday. Looking at this diamond, these games on a diamond Wednesday, lot to choose from. Going to have 16 of them. Doubleheader in Cincinnati. We'll get to that shortly. What a day it was Tuesday. 5-0 with our baseball bets. 1 game got postponed, then we added a parlay. Brewers haven't done a lot of parlays. Some same game parlays, yes. Not a lot of different teams. Last time I did one, it was a day Dodgers Red Sox early in the year. They were both heavy favorites. They both lost, which, hey, I'll take it. I'd rather a parlay get totally blown up than lose by 1. But went Brewers, Mariners, in addition to Mariners to not bat bottom of the ninth. So had 2 units, 2 separate plays involving the Mariners winning both outright and in non-walk-off fashion. Got home on all those, 5-0 on the diamond. Not as lucky on the hardwood. Had 2 bets pertaining to the Clippers, lost them both. 5-2 Tuesday. We will take that. 8 days a week, though, of 5-2 day. We'll get to Wednesday's picks shortly. There are some games on the ice that intrigue me. No action, but Winnipeg, after dropping a pair in St. Louis, home teams won every game. They say a series doesn't start till the road team wins. We'll see. I think the Jets get back in the win column here. It's just a steep price to pay. Can Connor Helbeck right the ship? Laying 70 cents. That's more than I'd be comfortable laying with Winnipeg in that game. But I do think Winnipeg wins. You heard it from our buddy Scott Spreitzer. Maybe take them to win in regulation. You'll get a better price than you would just the money line outright minus about 170, depending on where you shop. NBA thoughts briefly, because I don't have any best bets in the NBA. I think the Lakers win. I think the Warriors cover. The more I look at it, the more I'm thinking I might take the points with Golden State instead of the money line. Either way, I'm hedging. My Rockets 27-1, you know the deal. I was hoping to get through the first round and then hedge in the second round. Not going to be the case. Going to start the hedge right here, Game 5 in Houston. And while plus 160 is sexy and it's intriguing, if you're giving me 4 and a hook, I might have to take that, because that might open me up to, if the Warriors cover, Rockets win, might get another hedge opportunity. Game 6 in Golden State. So might end up just taking the points. When in doubt, take them, right? When in doubt, get started with the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. Let's dive in. It's time for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. 3 plays on the diamond for me on Wednesday. And we are starting with, coincidentally, the same best bet in baseball that our buddy Scott Spreitzer has. And that is the Cubs run line at PNC in Pittsburgh. Matthew Boyd has been sensational for the Cubbies in the early goings of the season. Like Scott pointed out, 4 of his early starts have already come against the Padres and the Dodgers. He is picking up where he left off. Some late season heroics last year for Detroit. His record's only 2-2, but that 2.5 ERA. I mean, we say 4 starts against the Padres and Dodgers. How about all 5 have come against San Diego, LA, or Arizona? Right? All 5 teams, NL West, star-studded lineups, all above 500, and Boyd's pitched to a 2.5 ERA, with 3 of those 5 contests being on the road. Now, this Pirates lineup should feel like a cakewalk. Should be a breeze for Boyd. The Cubs are hitting the cover off the ball. Just won 9-0. Andrew Heaney had been phenomenal for Pittsburgh. Chicago chased him out before he could even finish 5. Charged him with 4 runs, too. So give me the Cubbies run line, minus 105 at Pittsburgh. If you want to try to get a little fancy with it, and this may be a little foreshadowing to a bet we've got coming up, but you could always look at Matthew Boyd to get the win. My only knock on Boyd, he doesn't always go all that deep into games. So 6 innings, kind of his ceiling as far as how deep he'll go. But if you wanted to take him to get the win, that's plus 120. I'd rather lay 5 cents and go Cubs run line minus 1.5. Now I've got 2 best bets in the Padres-Giants game. And we're starting with San Diego starter Michael King over 6.5 Ks. I'm laying 25 cents for this, but King has been phenomenal. He has gone over this mark now in 3 straight starts and 4 out of his last 5. Last time out, 9 in 5 innings, 7 in 5 2/3, 8 in a complete game, 11 in 5. He's not going all that deep into games this year, with the exception of the complete game. He actually hasn't gone 6 any other start. So only 1 quality start out of his 6, but his Ks per 9 are right up there around a career best. He's averaging 11 Ks per 9 in the early goings of the season. So this is a guy who could realistically give us 5 innings if he doesn't go 6 and still get to this 7K mark, especially against the San Francisco Giants team that on the road has the 4th most Ks per game in the early goings of the season. 10.25 Ks per game on the road this year. Nick Pivetta just notched 9 in only 5 1/3 innings of work. Give me Michael King over 6.5 -125. And give me Michael King to get the win in this one. Now, this is a good price because the Padres money line, you're laying 35 cents. You're getting 75 cents of differential here, plus $1.40 on King to get the win. I love the value. It's a bit of a risk for what I just mentioned. He's not going all that deep into games, but despite that, in his 6 starts, he has still notched the win, recorded the win 3 times. So he's getting run support, even though he is not going really over 17.5 outs much. He's only done that 1 time this year. But at plus 140, Giants lineup is considerably worse on the road than they are at home. San Diego just got Luis Arias back, and even if he's not the hero, he's making everyone else around him better. Fernando Tatis Jr. coming off an 0-5 night. In a game where the Padres scored 7 runs, he contributed nothing. Now he's got a lefty on the bump. I think Tatis Jr. is going to rake. I think the Padres are going to give King run support. Give me Michael King to get the win, plus $1.40. And that'll do it for my best bets. I will reiterate before we get to our best bet sponsorship here. I will reiterate, NBA, I'm going to take the Warriors plus 4 and a hook. This is the beginning of my hedge. I wouldn't necessarily call it a best bet. I'm taking it to get back my 27-1 and then a little bit of a profit on top of that in an ideal world after I took that shot, that long shot on the 2nd seed Rockets, who had the 7th longest odds to win the West. So took that shot with them, down 3-1 in the series. I'm going to hedge by taking Golden State plus 4.5 in H-Town. Again, I'm not calling it a best bet because of the situation, because of the circumstances, because it's a hedge. But our best bets are brought to you by our friends over at G-Bank, the official bank of VSiN. Folks, G-Bank's up in the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new G-Bank Visa Signature Card customers. First, new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening receive a $250 bonus. Additionally, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus right there. Apply now. VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions, of course, apply. And that'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. I'll tell you, as we continue to look on this Wednesday MLB slate, one thing I do want to circle back to, we've still got some probable pitchers that haven't been announced. Not every game is fully out there with pitching matchups. The early game, 12:40 Eastern, 9:40 a.m. Pacific time, Reds, Cardinals, Singer, Michaelis. Gave this out yesterday on the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. Got ridiculously good CLV. I mean, minus 130, first 5 innings, right? Ends up, I wake up Tuesday morning, it's minus 165. Then it gets postponed. I'm not going back to it. And we talked about this with our buddy Scott Spreitzer, right? Doubleheader, you don't know what the lineup's going to look like. Who's playing game 1, who's playing game 2, who's sitting, right? Which pitcher is ready after expecting a night game, now for an early start. Which hitters maybe come out sluggish with the early start. I'm staying away. If it was a first 5 money line at the same price, I'd probably take it again. But now that the price has moved, you'd have to go run line. You're still laying juice on the run line. I'm staying away for those reasons. As they would say, and for those reasons, Sharks, I am out. That does it for another terrific edition of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo right here on VSiN. The great content never stops, though, folks. VSiN by the books, 7 a.m. Eastern. Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis. They're going to get you ready for that Reds-Cardinals game and so much more on the diamond on your Wednesday. Then Gil Alexander, Kelly Bidlin, he's back from Turks and Caicos for a numbers game at 10. And Money Moves at noon Eastern. Stormy Bonantoni and JVT. Special thanks to our terrific producer, Adam Bernard, for all of his hard work in this one. The rest of our team behind the glass, John, Alexis, Fenhouse, couldn't do it without him. That does it for me, Joe Ceraulo. Let's do it again, Damani.
It's more challenging than ever to meet the demands of competing priorities that work throws our way. From emails to reports and project proposals, we need help to get it all done. Grammarly is the essential AI communication assistant that boosts your productivity at work, so you can get more of what you need done faster, no matter what or where you're writing. Grammarly sets the standard for responsible AI and equips you with the best tools to do your job, like AI-powered features that help you write and edit quickly everywhere you write, or tone features that help you communicate more confidently. Just a few clicks can tailor your tone and writing so you come across exactly as you intend. No wonder 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Let Grammarly take the busy work off your plate so you can focus on high-impact work. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast.